Hi, today I want to look at logging with Winston in Node.js. We'll learn how to use Winston for logging in Node.js. And logging, as you might know, means writing down what happens in your app, which you can also do with console log. And by logging, you can find problems and understand what's going on. So we'll go through this step by step, and you can pause or rewind anytime. Let's get started. So first of all, you need to install Winston like this. I have already done it, so let me just open it up. There. Okay, so npm I or npm install Winston, and it should show up here in your package.json file. Great. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a file, so touch, and we're going to call this logger.js. So there we go. Let's start by just checking this here. Type equals module. Okay, so that we can use the import. So we'll do import from Winston. Okay, and what we're going to import is the create logger. We're going to import the formats and the transports, like so. So the create logger here is like a factory that makes a new logger. The format basically makes the messages look nice, and the transports, they decide where the logs will be saved. So let's move on. We're going to create a variable called logger. And we're going to use the first one here. So create logger. Create logger. Create logger. Now we're going to say level, and there's going to be an info. So this tells Winston which messages to save. And we're going to do levels from least to most important. So you could say information is all the least important. You could, if I make it silly, I could say, okay, well, first we're going to have the silly messages, and after that the debug messages, because silly is not relevant. Okay? Then we're going to say format. And I said format we use to make the messages look nice. So combine here is we're going to combine different messages here. So first of all, I want the format dot timestamp. That's one. And I want the format dot printf, and this lets us style the message. So we're going to, sorry, let me just be clear here. So it's going to be a function there. Okay, and we're going to take the timestamp, the level and the message. And we're going to return and then we're going to say timestamp, and then array, no, wrong one, there, and we want this to go to uppercase, lowercase to uppercase, there. And the message there. So that's the format. So now we've done the create logger info here, and we still need to do the transports. Oh, wrong one. There. And we said the transports decide where the logs will be saved. Okay. So let's write it down. New transports file, and we want to give it a file name, logs error.log, so this first one here saves only the error messages to a file called logs/word error.log. So let's do another one. New transports dot file, file name, logs combined log, and the last one, transports dot console, the second one here saves all the messages to a file called logs/word combined.log, and this last transport shows all the messages in the console, or we can say the terminal window like down here. Then I'll just write logger there instead of logger. And now let's export the logger. Now let's go to our index.js file here. Let's import logger from logger, and let's change something here. So we don't want the console logs here or the console.errors here. We want to change that to logger. Okay. So we're going to say logger and info. So anyway, we've done the console.logs, we can write down logger.info. So we just did it here, but here we can also write down logger, and we have the error already. So we have the info, but we also have the error here as a level here. And we have another one down here, I believe. Yeah, console.info. So we can say logger.info. There. Now let's also log some actions in our routes. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 routes. So let's also add some logging in there. So before we get the response here, we can say logger.info, and we can say fetched all items there, for example. And here we can say logger dot, and we're in the error here, so we say logger.error, and we can say something like error. We have an error fetching items, and then we can say error dot message there, for example. Then we go down here, so we'll just do it above the response here. We can say logger.info, and we can say created new item, and then we can say new item dot, and we have the name. Then we can do the error again, and instead of saying fetching, we can say creating new item there. Here, logger dot, and you can see there's a few of them standard in here. So there, here, it's not an error, but it's actually a warning. So let's see if there is something logger dot warning, and we can say item not found, and we can pass in the ID there. And then of course we have the error again, so here, and we can say error, and we're putting, so updating item there. And one more here. This is similar, so I'm going to copy this one here, and we can say item not found. We can say here for updating, and here we can then say for deleting. And this one we can say error deleting item there. Great. So now when we test this, every time we fetch or create or update or delete an item, we log what happened, and if there's an error, we log that too. So this basically helps us see what's happening in our app. So let's see if it works. Actually, before we try it, I've got to add the file extension here, and a few other things we need to look at. I just double checked, and warning does actually not exist. It needs to be warn there, and we did the same here. So it needs to say warn. And another thing here is actually, let's do backticks there. So around, and then we say MongoDB error connection there, and then we can take this in like this. There, that looks better. Let's see if we have that somewhere else as well. So here, for example, we can do the same. There. The same. I'll do the same everywhere, and then I'll continue. So now let's try node index.js, and you can see it's running. And when I open up, I've already sneaky tested this already. Okay, so let's post a new item, and we can say orange, and we want maybe 20 oranges, send. Then you can see here, create a new item, orange, and there's a new folder here where we said this is combined log here, and it's also saved it in this file here, so you can view, and then you see it's level info, and you can see it's created new orange. So now when I fetch everything, so I'll say fetch all items, send, you see it's fetched all the items here, and you can see it's fetched all the items here. So really nice. I hope this taught you something, and I'll see you next time.